everybody. Susan Marco here. Welcome to Trance Talks, the podcast where we have conversations with practitioners across many alternative modalities and disciplines. And today, it is my great honor. I am thrilled to have Dr. Nick Natale with me.
Hi,
Nick,
Susan. How are you doing?
hi, Dr. Nick. Nick is a certified sex therapist, national certified counselor, certified hypnotherapist. And I mean, he's a teacher, he's a leader, he is, I have such respect for you and what you do. Just an amazing human.
Thank
So
you.
you're welcome. I wanted to just give you the I want to give you the microphone basically and ask you to tell my listeners, who are you? What do you do? How do you work?
Well, first, let me just say thank you so very much for inviting me on this fledgling podcast. I am so excited to see where you're going to take this and the incredible people that you're going to have on this podcast.
Thank
I
you.
love working with eclectic healers and practitioners of various arts. And I actually love the fact that myself, I am a clinical therapist, psychotherapist, licensed in the state of South Carolina. But I'm also a coach who works with people from across the country, around the world, in the area of relationships and sexual health. So lots of times I'm going back and forth between clinical setting and let's do some coaching. And there's Remington in the back there. So,
Oh,
you know, but it has been kind of a thrill of a ride to the last couple of years to introduce hypnosis and hypnotic work into my clinical work. And it's just been phenomenal. So to be a part of this podcast and amazing practitioners from across the world who are practicing hypnosis, changing people's lives, bringing transformation is remarkable.
yeah, thank you so much. Um, so I know there are two things that we had a little conversation the other day, and there are two things that are happening right now for you that are really kind of, supercharged. One is the self-mastery idea, and the other one is pleasure heals.
Let's talk about both of those. That
Yeah.
would be great. That's a good conversation. So in my work, I want you to imagine whether I'm in clinical space or we're working on through a coaching paradigm. Self-mastery is a big part of the conversation at first. No matter what a person is bringing, we're going to talk about self-mastery in one form or another. And what I often like to do, and it's not original to me at all, is to really break self-mastery down into four different dimensions, pillars, aspects, however you would like to see it. But I oftentimes want people to kind of catch and understand that if they want to bring transformation in their life, whether that is dealing with something regarding depression or they're trying to achieve something in their business and their personal life, they first have to understand what's going on in themselves and their body. So self-mastery, when it comes to the simple things, food, movement, sleep, and purpose. Those four dimensions, those four pillars, to me, really does set a person up for let's do some amazing change work. So someone may come into my office and say, hey, listen, we just really need to improve our relationship. Or, I've been struggling with erectile dysfunction for a while now. We're going to address those things. We're going to do that. But I did want to first ask a question, at least to explore, sometimes deeply, but sometimes just on the surface. Can we talk about these four pillars of self-mastery? How is your nutrition today? Because all the research, Susan, all the research is pointing to how much food affects our mood.
Right.
We can't get around that. When we start feeling down, we tend to eat more things that we consider comfort foods, which are usually high in processed foods, high in carbs, and generally not good for us. And it makes us feel a certain way, not in a good way. And the reverse is also true, Susan. If we can get a person to actually start taking their nutrition very seriously when they start feeling low motivated or, down in the dumps a little bit, like being able to eat certain nutrients like high folate foods based, iron, magnesium, potassium, all these type of nutrients can really have a change and effect on a person's experience. So the first thing I look at, if you like to talk about a little bit, is nutrition. We've got to talk about self-mastery. Number one, what kind of food are you eating today? What is that like? But that's just where I begin.
Yeah, it's a good place to start, right? Because it's so basic.
It's basic, and we do it every day,
Basic.
right? Yeah.
Right.
Number two, we're going to talk about movement. We're going to talk about, are you active? Are you going? Are you moving around? A body in motion is going to feel better, feel more energy. It's going to produce more energy. It's going to be able to give more energy to all the transformation work you're going to do. So you may be working on something deep. You may be working on something that's been there for a long time, a wound, a hurt. We got to think about movement while we do this work. Then we're going to actually focus on sleep. We take it for granted, but when we have good sleep, it gives our entire body and our brain an opportunity to rest, to work things out in our dreams. Without sleep, we're going to go in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be harder to function and do that transformational work. And last, that fourth one is really about purpose. What's bringing you joy? Why are you waking up in the morning? How are things going with this or that? Because if you can find purpose, you're going to find a deep well of motivation for the change you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what I'm doing or how I'm working with a person through coaching that is specific, goal-oriented, or transformational work of deep wounds that's been there for a long time, our first set of maybe 2 sessions, maybe 3 sessions, is going to be over, okay, how are you eating? How are you moving? How are you sleeping? Where's your purpose? And that's what we're going to do.
Wonderful. It's interesting. I wonder in your experience, because there are so many people who have sleep issues, how does that relate to what you see in terms of people, with sexual issues or dysfunction? Like, I mean, all of those things obviously play a role,
Right.
but
They do.
do you find in your experience that one more than another, or it's the whole package in your
I like
experience?
to think about the whole package in different ways, but for example, we do know if we're dealing with anything from pelvic floor pain,
Mhm.
which I work with plenty of women with, or we're working with a man experiencing erectile dysfunction, or either gender when it comes to low libido. Nutrition and movement has a big part to play in that. So we're going to use hypnosis as a part of it, but I want to also make sure we're really taking care of our bodies and how it affects our moods. And it affects how we think and how we feel, how we experience things. Because when we're dealing with some of these difficult issues, especially something as personal and private as their sexual health,
Mhm.
then we want to make sure they can actually begin to see how simple steps around these 4 can actually demonstrate to themselves that things can change for them. So I believe not only on a physical, somatic level, but also on an emotional level, it prepares for a person to do the deeper work that we're about to do.
Mhm.
I
So
love it.
so let's talk about that deeper work. Once you have those, you know, once you've addressed those fundamental things, where do you go from there? And is that where the pleasure heals idea comes in?
With everyone I work with, we're going to at least talk about these pillars of self-mastery. The concept of pleasure heals is something that I am really just kind of stoked about right now,
Mm.
really because I have been able to see how individuals and couples have been able to actually activate that part of themselves that enjoys pleasure, looks forward to pleasure as part of their healing journey, where they incorporate pleasure as part of the work that they're doing. Just think about it for just a few moments. A person's sexual life is such a deep and private and primal aspect of their lives, of their existence, the way they relate to each other. When they experience a good and flourishing, thriving sex life, it actually provides confidence and wonderful esteem outside the bedroom. So sometimes when things are going very well inside the bedroom, our outside the bedroom life is better as well. So pleasure can actually help a person feel more confident in themselves, how they look, their body, in their relationship, how deeper they're going with their mate. But also, people can actually step into a myth that's out there. So there's a myth that is actually rampant in our society, and it goes something like this. I need to get everything in my life right, and then I'm going to be able to experience good sexual pleasure. Once everything is right, get all the stars aligned, then that's when I'll start experiencing good pleasure. A thought of that nature is actually sacrificing all the potential benefits that pleasure can give a person in their life overall. Like, for example, a couple that are struggling, they're struggling in lots of different areas. As long as they're safe and consensual, they can actually enjoy pleasure amongst themselves. And whatever difficulty may be around is still present. But can they enjoy that pleasure and enjoy the bonding aspect of spending that time together? So we see this on a couple level, we see this on the individual level, that personal pleasure can actually be a healing agent for the individual and the couple. And there's no need to sideline that until everything gets perfect and all the stars align. So how do we actually learn to enjoy the pleasure that we have an opportunity to feel? So I just throw it up and say, for a lot of couples, they may be sidelining a wonderful aspect of their personal inner healing agency by setting aside good sex together, good pleasure together.
Mhm.
Let's enjoy that. Whatever disagreements we're having, it'll be there. But let's allow ourselves to enjoy that. Now, when I began to talk about this, Susan, with couples, and I'm just kind of presenting it as how is touch, how is pleasure benefiting your relationship? It's amazing how many times a small disagreement will sideline pleasure and touch altogether. They'll sleep on different sides of the bed, or somebody is on the guest couch and the other person is in the bedroom.
Mhm.
Let's figure out ways that we can actually use pleasure to come together and bring healing. Pleasure heals. That's the whole concept. Now, not everybody I work with will we go through that particular concept, but certain couples, they are ready to reactivate the healing aspect of pleasure. And that's exactly what I want couples to be reminded of.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, because I think it's complex, right? The things that block us from that, in our thoughts, in our belief systems, how we've been raised or what society or culture tells us about pleasure, and is it okay, is it not okay, and when is it okay? And even when you bring up the idea of, if my husband and I have a disagreement, how can I get beyond that disagreement and whatever's going on inside of me to be able to just to be able to sit and exchange, have a pleasurable exchange with him, not in spite of it, but in an effort to heal that.
That's right.
I love that.
So there are times when we have to be honest with ourselves and says, I don't want to go there because I don't want to release what I'm holding against my mate.
Yeah.
Now that's revealing. I might be able to do that, but I have to let go of this. And the answer is yes, you do. Whatever that disagreement is, it's going to be there. It's going to be there afterwards.
Yeah.
But can we enjoy the few moments we have together this afternoon, this evening, tomorrow morning? Can we enjoy those moments together? And so, yeah, during Hypnothoughts Live coming up in July, which I'm really so excited for, I'm going to be doing a talk specifically on how to use basic hypnotic experiences to help a person unleash their inner passion, to be able to activate these healing qualities of pleasure.
Mm.
And it's going to be a really exciting chance to kind of share how we actually use hypnosis to do that. Because even embedded in one of the things that we're taught as hypnotists, that we just need to do a beginning check on, how a person can go into hypnosis by the finger magnet challenge and technique. But, our fingers want to come together. Now, love using that with couples to remind them that they actually do want to come together. And your body, as an individual, wants to feel pleasure. There's a certain draw, just like your fingers will have a certain draw towards each other. Your body as a whole is drawn towards expressing and using pleasure. And so we need to be able to activate that, use that, and bring that to the aid of the couple to actually let go of some things and allow your body to heal and allow that bond to heal through pleasure.
I
Yeah,
love that. I love that so much. If we can allow an awareness of that our body, we're actually built for pleasure.
we are.
We're,
We're
we're
built.
our bodies, women's bodies, there's the excuse me for getting direct, but the woman's clitoris, it has no other function
No other
than
function
pleasure.
than pleasure.
And on some level we have been convinced otherwise. And so I'm getting a chill now even thinking about it, that you offer this work and that you will work with men and women
Mhm.
to restore the body's natural ability to receive pleasure.
That's right.
That's such a beautiful thing. And I mean, thank you for doing this work in the world. I get a little emotional thinking about it.
We have great capacity to bring healing throughout our body and in our relationships. In anything we're sidelining, we're just setting it aside, it's usually because we want to hold on something else. And in order to reach for something else, we have to let go of this. And sometimes letting go is the hardest thing to do. And I have found that when a person can begin to let go, as long as they're safe and it's consensual, allow themselves to let go and enjoy what is afforded to them in this relationship, it's hard to hang on to all the complexities of last night's arguments. It kind of puts things into perspective, and it's a wonderful and beautiful thing. Now, what I'm describing is just a disclaimer, it's not right for every couple. There's certain issues where safety is a concern and things like that. I'm not trying to put this across the board for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a large number of couples who get to the point in their healing process and they're still hanging on. And they're not allowing pressure to be a part of their experience. But if they would actually see an acceleration of their healing in that relationship.
Beautiful. So, do you work with people virtually as well as in person?
I do. My primary office is in Columbia, South Carolina. That's the state for which I'm licensed. And I can see people in the state of South Carolina as a psychotherapist. My work with other people, obviously I'm not doing anything clinical, but I am working with individuals and couples to help begin to allow them to become more confident lovers. And we do that through Zoom and other means. And sometimes I will travel to other states to work with a couple over a weekend or something of that nature. But typically, what I do with an individual or couple that reach out to me, we start a three-step process towards helping them become a more confident lover. We first begin to help them to redefine their erotic profile. Every single one of us has an erotic profile that we kind of operate off of.
Mhm.
And sometimes, because of the things that we experience in life, we can really limit or repress, hold back our desires and what we would actually like to do and how we would like to experience pleasure. We'll hold all that down, we'll repress it, hold it deep, secreting within. I begin first by helping a person to redefine their erotic profile. And then we work together toward gaining arousal mastery. That involves specific work around what's been identified as kind of roadblocks. Maybe that's pain. Maybe that's a struggle in getting or keeping an erection or libido overall. But how do we actually allow our mind to be the incredible sexual organ that it actually is? Because as we've been hearing since the 1960s with Master and Johnson, our mind is actually the largest sex organ that we have. And as Kaz Rowley is famous for saying, where the mind goes, the body will follow. And that is 100% true. Where the mind goes, the body is going to follow. So we work on arousal mastery. And then we do this last step of helping them to embody what it means to be the confident lover that they've always wanted to be. So those are kind of the three steps I usually walk a person through in a coaching process, where they want to work through whatever may be blocking, inhibiting them from becoming the full confident lover they're looking to become.
How fantastic.
Yeah.
So, if somebody wants to reach out to you or do some work with you, where would they find you?
You can easily find me on my website. That is drnicnatale.com. And that will be in the show notes. But also, you can find me on Instagram. I have a very small, engaged following there. But you can find me at Dr. Nick Natale on Instagram. And I would love to and maybe get to know other people in this space and kind of share this work a little bit more because this is something I was truly am passionate about.
I love it. And I feel that from you. I think anybody who's watching is going to really, really get that. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. And I have a feeling that, we'll revisit this conversation down the road a little bit.
Well, I am always interested in bold conversations. And I just appreciate your willingness to say, hey, this is important. We have got to start talking about this. And Susan, I cannot wait to see you again in July. And I cannot wait to see how this is going to go in the future. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Nick. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye bye.